Hey, this is Mr. Ward, and I'm going to do a video series on different types of transformations. I'm going to start with the very basic type of transformation, which is called a translation. Now, there are two general types of transformations. There's rigid body, and there are non-rigid body transformations. So I've just created a folder, and this folder will be where I'll put some information about translations, which are what's called a rigid body transformation. The shape and the size and the angles of whatever shape you're transforming don't change. So when the shape, when the measurements of the angles and the side lengths all stay the same, then you have congruent shapes, congruent figures. This will be a translation, which is a slide, and a rigid body transformation. That means that the shape doesn't change. Now, with a translation, the shape also maintains its orientation. It simply slides right or left or up or down or diagonally, which is just a combination of right, left, up, or down. I'm using a coordinate plane because that gives me some nice opportunities to demonstrate what's happening mathematically with the transformation. So here I am in Desmos. I've created a file name called Transformations Video Space. If I want to make sure the work I've done is saved, I have to hit save, of course. But so I created a folder, and just to remind you, you create a folder by hitting the plus drop-down menu, and you click folder. Once I'm in the folder, if I want to put things in the folder, I can just hit enter here, and there's something in the folder, or I can make something here and then move it into the folder, and when you see that little line, it's in the folder. All right, so let's start off by making a shape. I'm going to make a triangle, okay? And the triangle is going to have the points. We'll have the points 2, 1. Okay, so there's my first point. Now I'm going to make a comma so I can make another point in this same space. And I'm going to say 4, 1. I'm going to make it 5, 1. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, and then I'm going to make another point that's going to be at 5, 5. Okay, so I've made a triangle. Now, I haven't connected the dots. I can connect the dots, and I'm going to show you how you connect the dots, and I'm going to show you an issue that comes up when you do that. So let me go back here. So I hit the little gear which says Edit List, and I click here, and down here at the bottom it says Lines. So I'm going to use Lines. Now you might notice that I didn't connect all the dots. I just connected from my first point to my next point to my next point, and it connects them in the order that you put them in the thing. But what I need to do is I'm going to have to repeat my first point. So I'm going to repeat my first point. That'll be 2, 1, and now it comes all the way back to my beginning. So that's just a necessary thing for setting this up. I'm going to label my points. Now you see it labels one of them twice. Okay. I'm going to not label them for right now, but here I have a triangle. Now, if I want to, I can actually set this triangle up to slide to the right or the left. And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to add something to each one of these. I'm going to add 1. And then what that's going to do is it's going to move. And let me back up and explain why. So if I want to change it horizontally, I want to change the x coordinates, because the x coordinates are the horizontal addresses for this. And I have to do it for all of these points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it to the right by 1. So let me copy this so that we can see the change. Okay, so I'm going to add 1 to the x value, so plus 1, which will mean that's a 3. Okay, and then I'll say plus 1 here, and plus 1 here, and plus 1 here. I'm going to actually stretch this out so you can grab this and stretch it out so you can see the whole thing. Now you probably see I didn't, and the dots are not connected, so I got to connect the dots. So I click here, I turn the line tool on, and now what I've got is a version of the triangle that is just slid to the right by 1. So that's a horizontal transformation of 1 to the right. Okay, so I'm adding 1. If I wanted to make it go 1 to the left, I would say -1 in each of these cases. Okay? And everything has to be transformed in the same way, or it is no longer a transformation of the whole object. It's just a transformation of one part. So now I've translated it to the left by 1. Okay, so now let's give some vocabulary. This here, the blue one, is what we would call the object. Okay, so I'm going to add a note here. So the object or pre-image, those are two names you will see for that. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could call it a triangle ABC. And so I might have my first point be A, my next point be B, and this one be C, would be C. Okay, now my transformation is called an image. Okay, and I might give it a name. If the first one was triangle ABC, this is going to be triangle A prime, that little apostrophe means prime, B prime, C prime. That is referencing the previous transformation. Okay, now I'm going to make another transformation. Now this transformation is going to be, I am not in the folder, so let me move into the folder. So my next transformation, apparently I still didn't get into the folder. There, now I'm in the folder. Not into the folder until that line is there. So I'm copying and pasting what I had just done. And now I'm going to, and you'll see I now have black dots, but no black lines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put lines in. Okay, have to move around somehow. Hang on. Little structure for doing a video is getting in the way, so hang on. So I'm going to make lines. There we go. So I made lines. Now, what I want to do is I want to do an additional transformation. So I've transformed it over here, translated 1 to the left, 1 unit to the left. I don't have a measurement. We're going to call that a unit. Now I'm going to translate the next one 2 units, sorry, click here, plus a note. So now I'm going to take my image, A prime, B prime, C prime, and I'm going to make image, which will be triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. And the reason it's double prime is it is a transformation of a transformation. And it's going to be translated 2 units up. Okay, to translate it 2 units up, what I need to do is I need to change the y part. So when I change the y part, I'm going to have to add, if I want to go up, I add to the y component, because the y component is the vertical component. So plus 2, and I have to say plus 2 for that one as well, and you'll see it's starting to build itself, plus 2, and then I have to bring it back home with the last repeated point. So there I have those points. So I'm going to scroll down here, give them all labels. Now we can actually see the numbers. So I started off at 5-1. I ended up at 4-1 for, let's say this is B prime, or this is B here. This is my original, so B. So 5-1 got translated to 4-1, horizontally 1 to the left, and then vertically 2 up. So vertically up by 2. So this is B double prime, which is now at 4-3. And so the x value is lost 1, so going from 5 to 4. And the y value has gained 2, going up 2. So this is just, it's all the same triangle, and I have just translated it. I've slid it about vertically and horizontally. Okay, I'm going to now set it up so that the entire thing will move with sliders. Okay, so I'm going to make a more general, so general transformation. I'll say translation to be clear, using sliders. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two, I'm going to turn them off for right now. I'm going to turn off the labels so the labels aren't distracting. We've got back to our original one. So I'm going to grab my original one, and I'm going to plop it in here. I'm going to give it lines. If it will let me, I think I may have to move it again. There. Now give it lines. Okay, we're going to make this one green. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a letter. So this letter stands for horizontal change. I'm going to add that to all the x1s. So adding horizontal to each x1. So I can actually control how much I horizontally change it. I'm also going to add something to the y. It's going to be v. Each of the y's, I'm going to add v for vertical. Y is about vertical. And you'll notice it's demanding that this all should be lowercase. It's demanding a slider. So I'm going to say yes, let's have some sliders. Now, right now, it's doing something weird. Let me see. I've got some error in here probably. So, that should be plus V. Now it's better. Okay, so currently H is 1 and V is 1. I'm going to change them to 0 for right now and bring it back to the beginning. So now I've got those. What I can do is I can now move it horizontally. So now I'm moving it horizontally like this. I could also move it, let me get it back to 0. Easiest just to type it in. Now I can also move it vertically. Okay. And move it back to 0 again. And if I want to, I can actually play that. There's the horizontal movement. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see it a little better. So that's a horizontal translation, and I'm adding whatever H value is. If I want to pause it, I can pause it right now. I've added 1.67 to all of the X values. So it's horizontally transformed. Okay, I'll bring that back to 0. Now I can translate it vertically using that. So I'm just moving it up and down. I'm adding whatever V is to the Y value of my original pre-image or object point. Now, a fun thing you can do is we can actually make it diagonal movements by playing them both. Now, the diagonal translations are really just a combination of a vertical and a horizontal translation. So I'm going to invite you to play around with this and see what you can do with it. All of this will be in the translations folder of this of this Desmos. So I'm going to stop it there, and oops, I didn't stop it everywhere. So there we go. Currently, it's translated 0.83 units to the right and 8.67 units up. All right, I hope that helped give you a little bit of a sense of how we can organize translations, which are a rigid body transformation. Okay, and there's your rigid body transformation. They are simply a slide, a horizontal or vertical slide of the image. The image remains congruent to the object, the pre-image, the original version of it. It's the same triangle in this case. It's got all the same measurements for angles, all the same measurements for its line segments, its sides, and so it is the same triangle. It's just in a different place. It's also got the same orientation. So this vertex here, this corner here, is the top. This corner here is the bottom right, and this corner here is still the bottom left. So in a translation, it stays congruent and maintains its orientation. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and put things in the folder. So I've closed the folder, and I'm going to turn off the folder. And I'm going to save this like that. Always remember to save with Desmos. It's not like Google Documents. It doesn't continue. Now I'm going to stop this video and I'll make another one about reflection.